Hey there, I'm working on a Christmas stocking for a customer, and I finished the top part and I finished the foot. It's all Kitchener stitched at the toe and ready to roll, and I've started weaving in the ends at the bottom. You can see I've got that part finished. Did intarsia work here, and now I've got a whole lot more ends to weave in before I'm finished with this and ready to mail it to the customer. Up at the top I did some ferrule to do the name. It was easier just to carry the yarn across the back there. So I didn't have very many ends to weave in there, just wove them in along the edges. And I already wove in all my ends where the color changes took place. This particular customer doesn't want me to seam up the back of the stocking. She wants me to leave it open so that she can line it herself and seam it. So that's kind of a relief. So this weaving in the ends is the last step in what I need to do. So I'll start off by showing you how I weave in an easy spot here. So here's one it's green, and so when I weave it in, I don't want to weave it in on the red section because it might show through to the front. It's better to weave in the same color, weave in the ends on the color as the same as the end. I hope I said that right. It's late at night, I'm kind of weak. So what I do before I start weaving in is I look at the front to see if there's any stitches that look like they're loose and not sitting right. So like right here, this looks kind of wiggy. So what I'm going to do is hold that section and flip over to the other side, and I'm going to pull one of these strands a little bit and see if that's the one that needs to be tight. No, a little bit off to the left. Maybe it's, is it this one or this one? So I just kind of feel around until I tighten up those sections at the front that look kind of loose. So it looks like it might be right there. And so that takes a little bit of time to get it the way I want it to look at the front. So I do that first, and then I tug my end to where it's tight, and then I lay it out where the stitches will be lined up. And I still have that one little spot that looks kind of wonky, so I'm going to pull it from the front and get that strand laid out the way I want it. That looks a little better. This particular customer I'm knitting for used to be a knitter long ago, so she has high standards, so I want it to look just right for her. So now that little section there looks pretty good. And I get my end, I fold it across my needle and squeeze it real tight, and then put my hole on top and squeeze it through. And that's how I thread my needle. Now I want to run this through the green section. So I'm going to run it through this one green strand, and then I'm going to go down there, pick up a little strand. Then I'm not going to go right below it. I'm going to go off a little bit this way, and then off the other way. So I just kind of zigzag, and I pick up some stitches, and then I slide that through. I don't pull it too tight because I don't want it to pull that section out of shape after all that work I did to make sure my stitches look good. And then I'll pass by that last stitch. You can pull the yarn and see where the last stitch you ran under is. Skip that, and then I just kind of move around and run it through some other stitches So you can run it back through the same stitches if you want. I run it off to the side a little bit for this particular project because I want my fabric to lay nice and flat. I don't want it to have any bulkiness on the back. And then you clip your end. So that's one end. So you see, it takes some time to weave in these ends. Now I'm going to flip it back to the front again and see how that section looks. That one section still looks kind of weird. I'm still not too happy with that. Maybe I need to pull a green strand forward a little bit. It helps a little. What I'll do is I'll stick my needle through from back to front so I can see exactly the spot that's giving me trouble. So it does look like it's that strand. I don't see anything there that looks odd. That's interesting. It's just not laying the way I want it to. There, that looks a little better. Now, so take your time, like I just did, and make sure it looks the way you want it to look on the front. The back is not quite so important. I'll do that little trick again here. I got a strand that's kind of wonky, so it's right there. If I pulled that, there, that looks a little better. I've got some green that's a little out of whack. There. I don't want to be pulling that red though. I want just that green. There. Just where those color changes take place. Sometimes your stitches will lay a little funny. There, that puffed out that green a little bit more. That's better. So now I'm going to look at another spot. I got some white here. And there's two strands right beside each other, so I'm going to move these other strands out of the way. I've got these two little white strands. So I'm going to look at the front and see how it looks there. That looks perfect. That looks really nice. It's a little long here, but not that bad. There. I'll lay that up here a little bit. There. So now I'm going to weave these in along that white section, and I don't want to do it too tight because I don't want it to pucker my fabric to get that out of line. I want to make it nice and neat. So I'm going to cross over that red, and I'm going to come down this. I'm just going to be a straight line this time because I want to weave it in on the white section. So I'm just going to pick up each stitch straight down the line. Run it through there. You don't have to run it through a lot of stitches. All you're doing is securing the end. There. Now I'm going to pass my first stitch. Now I'm going to go to the other side instead of picking up exactly the same. There. Now before I cut that, I'm going to look on the front. Let's see how it looks. It looks just fine. But that one end there is still kind of long looking. Kind of long in the tooth. So it looks like it's up here maybe. That's better. So now I'm going to weave in that last little white one, and then I'll be able to cut off both of those white ends. There. Pick up one at a time. That's why that little crooked end comes in handy when you're doing stuff like this. There. Feels secured. Now look at the front. It looks just fine. So that's how to weave in your ends. So you can see it takes patience and time. But if you want it to be done right, it takes patience and time. And that makes the front look just right. So if you look all through here, you'll see that I've got some spots all through here that are kind of long. I need to straighten those out. Right, like there, that little, I want these to be perfect. And my faces on my children need to be straightened up a little bit. They're not that bad. So, still got some work to do. I'll see you later. Bye.